All right, so my first of three articles was from The Economist, and it was over Law and Order. So basically, it went. This article is from June of 2020, so it was around the time when George Floyd's murder happened, and it's talking about how the election could become a law and order election. So basically, like whoever appeals to the mass majority, like of their opinions, is gonna win the election. Like, so I'm saying, like, basically, with all this stuff going on with COVID and Black Lives Matter and just a bunch of economical, basically just crazy things going on. Whoever applies more towards the masses will be the one who wins the election. And that's not just presidential. I'm talking about like presidents, senators, and just so on. And it's just basically saying whoever literally just goes with the masses is gonna win it because it's not even really about politics at this point. Is what the article is trying to depict. Okay, and my second article actually was addresses the Supreme Court composition and how they were handed a case. It was actually last year, and it was over gerrymandering in Virginia. And I think it was interesting how they got this case because it seemed like it could be handled by local, but I guess because it was like almost like a felony, they sent it up to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court handled it, and actually it was handled mainly by Ruth Gander. I think that's how you pronounce her name. G- Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May she rest in peace. And she basically came to the final conclusion that they were gerrymandering, and it was based on race, and it was for basically for people wanted they wanted a certain candidate to win in Virginia, so they were gerrymandering and making it basically throwing the election in favor of their person, the person they wanted to win, and it was working until it's pretty obvious because we went over in class. It's pretty obvious once you like start messing with votes and switching districts and where somebody lives upon race alone. It's kind of hard to like to track it based on race, but like just seeing that somebody mess with the vote is pretty obvious. It's pretty evident. There's no way for us to go around it because as soon as you start messing with it, it's just out there in the air. So they did this, and they actually were charged for this, and they got in a lot of trouble. The electorate got in a lot of trouble for doing this. And to go along with that, I was thinking that this was interesting because gerrymandering. I'm not. That's not necessarily that it would happen in this election, but I'm saying with the terms of the new election coming up with Trump and how they're doing it through mail-in. I feel like this applies really well towards that because a lot of people are like that's their main concern. Trump actually had I think it was he addressed it at one of his events, and he was telling the people to vote more than once, and like he actually got in a lot of trouble for saying that. And I think it applies to the situation really well. And so the fact that this happened a couple years ago and it was so quickly to be shut down immediately, and they got in like felony trouble. I think it just goes to show like it'll be hard for this to happen within a national election at that if it was so easily caught at a state local election. All right, so my last article addressed the presidential race. I'm in the presidential race. So basically, Donald Trump, he's in line with Joe Biden, and they're really close right now, but Trump is actually trailing. So his goal was to address law and order, and this was by him. This was in order for him to win the Midwest, which is a part of Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is the one that we're addressing right now. And they're basically they don't. It says that they didn't really like the Black Lives Matter movement around there because Minnesota, that's kind of where it started. I mean, no, I'm tripping. Milwaukee's a whole different spot than Minnesota. It's a city within Wisconsin, so they don't really like it. And there was a shop that actually had a Black Lives Matter up there, and a lot of people just said like we're never going back here because it has a Black Lives Matter, and then stopped respecting it. So I think this got around to Trump, and he was under the understanding that he could use this as a campaign strategy in order for him to win Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So he said, so his plan is to use law and order against Joe Biden, saying that the rising police brutality. I'm not police brutality, like protests and just utter violence throughout the nation. It's a part of Joe Biden's America. That's his goal, and he's putting it out there so it makes Joe Biden look bad to these people, so he could eventually, win over a lot of the Western states. Then they don't really hold that much value, but like as if you add them up all together, it could be the difference between winning and losing for him. So that's his goal. Do I think it's gonna happen? No. But I mean, everybody, like every president, has to have their own little campaign strategy, and that's basically his. He's using the process of law and order.